Hi everyone and welcome back to Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks, and today we're going to do our walkthrough, kind of a practice run, learn some tips and tricks of how to get your 3 stars on Northern Lights. This is a fascinating course set in the northern part of the northern hemisphere, and lots of beautiful northern lights with quaint little villages and towns far off in the distance, and just a really fun course all the way around. It's a little bit different than some of the others, and we'll talk about that as we go along. Let's get started. Now, when I say different, what I mean is that on a lot of the holes in this course, you can just forget everything you've ever learned about how far any given disc flies. Because as you will see, there are many instances where you need to put a much stronger disc in for the distance that you're flying, and other times you need to really reduce the amount of disc that you would normally use for the distance that's showing to the basket. And we'll point out most of those as we go along. Try and remember to do that. For our first hole, whatever big distance skip driver you have in your bag, that's what you want to pull out for this. I've got, maybe we should take a look at my bag. I've got the Zeus. This is still part of the Jump Start series that we're doing here at Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks, where we, right at the very beginning, purchased a few discs to help us get a good start in the game. And that is the distance driver that was the most readily available to purchase at the time. And so that's what we've been working with. And so that's what we'll use as we go through the course here. But almost any distance driver that has a skip attribute will work very similar to the Zeus. You just might have to make a few adjustments from what I show you to accommodate for your particular drive. A lot of the other discs here are discs that you probably have accumulated through your 3-star run, and we're going to start with the Zeus. And your goal here on this hole is to learn how to get an eagle, because there aren't a lot of other opportunities to get eagles on this course, and it's always nice to have that extra point to fall back on in case you mess up somewhere along the way, which on this course you're probably going to. And so it's really good to start out with an eagle. And it is possible on this hole. What you're kind of wanting to do is put your chevron pointer right about here above this stone here, and this is going to change depending on the wind, but generally speaking, about a half anhyzer on the pullback, and just let that come around, hit the mound there, and come swinging down around. And it's nice when it goes over this big log and sets you up for an approach to the basket. And for 33 meters, I usually pull out the fuse and put my pointer right in the center of the basket and pull down just before the first line of the chevrons there, and kind of watch your drunken cameraman behind you. He can really mess you up on this shot, but right about there should bring it in. Yeah. And so we can play that again if you like. Let's hit replay. Now, something to remember when you're going for your 3 stars is that you don't necessarily have to accept the wind conditions that you're given. Because this is the first hole, you can reset as many times until you get a wind condition that you're comfortable with. So as you play around with your distance driver and discover how it flies in certain wind conditions, you might find it easier to get your birdie by just hitting restart until you get a good wind condition. And for this Zeus, I find whenever the arrow is pointing down, either to the right or to the left, it doesn't always work the best, and so I'll just keep hitting restart and until we got something better, something like this, and then we can give this a try. And still pointing about there. With this wind condition, I might put just a little bit more anhyzer on it and let that swing around, hit the knoll, and this one didn't Well, it got us down there. All right. Sometimes, if you get the right bounce and skip and wind, your disc will come right down beside the basket, and that's always nice for a tap in or just a short putt. But today, looks like we're getting another challenging putt. It's challenging because you've got to change in elevation, so you don't pull it down as much as you normally would. And so right about there, and then watch that cameraman. He just pulled down. I don't know if you noticed, which makes it difficult. You hit the bottom rim of the basket. So there you go, how to get an eagle on that first hole, and then you're set up nicely to start your 3-star run. Got that extra point. Now, hole number 2, your Explorer disc here is the disc of choice. Put your pointer right there about the middle, and then put a half hyzer on it, and that usually comes swinging around nicely and approaches the basket for an easy throw-in. And that's the play on that. I don't know if there's anything else I can show you on that. If the wind is quite strong, you just make an adjustment a little bit. Point it in the same area, but in this case, with the wind going that strong, I wouldn't put as much hyzer on it. Just let the wind bring it around. And then toss it in. All right, let's move on. Okay, here we start to get into a challenging hole situation. And the Zeus doesn't do the best on this hole. I've tried it a number of times and I get mixed results. But there are some big skip drivers that do better. I'm trying to remember. I think the Rive big skip does fairly well on this hole. But if you've got an extra glide light disc of some kind, you'll find that that might be a better driver to use on this hole. Basically, what you're trying to do is get down this fairway without falling into the river on either side of this little pathway here. This particular disc, this west side disc, has a tendency to go way off left or right, depending on whether you're forehand or backhand. And so in this wind condition, I would probably put my pointer about here with this west side disc and pull straight back, let it go off to the side like this, and usually it comes swinging back and into play again. Now, the real key to getting a birdie on this hole is to know what to do for your second throw. And I say that because it's quite easy to figure out how to take a disc in your bag and land in the fairway for your first throw. Here, it's the second throw that's the more critical, depending on where you land, to know which disc to bring out and how far to pull it back so that you, again, don't go off into the river on either side of this, or go past the basket into the river. That's very easy to do in this case, in this hole. All right, so in this case, I would even just use the fuse on this one and still don't pull it all the way back. Just kind of lay up. And so we might even only bring it down to about here. Just bring it down closer to the basket. Now, it would have been nicer if it would have got a little closer. But we should be able to manage this. We're going downhill, so we won't pull it back all the way for a normal 36. But something like about that. Watch your cameraman. And in it goes for a birdie. Maybe what I can do is show you what some people do with their distance drivers. You see this a lot when you're playing the multiplayer. They'll put their pointer about here and put a little bit of an anhyzer on it and have it go way off to the left, but then come swinging around and back into play on the hill. Now this one, like I say, the Zeus isn't the best. We ended up okay. We're over here. We're still in bounds, even though we're on the other side of the river. So that we still have an opportunity to get our birdie here. And what I would probably recommend is the fuse here. Bring it up so you don't run the risk of hitting the fence here. And probably don't even pull it back all the way. You just want to get across the river and land nicely here. And stay on the crest. And toss it in for the birdie. So like I say, you need to learn what to do for that second shot based on a lot of different landings. Let's see if I can show you what it often looks like with using this strategy. With this wind, it's going to be a little bit crazy here. It's probably going to go off way too far and not come back. Yeah, maybe. Well, off into the river. Oh, it didn't. We lucked out. Okay, so given that we're this close, we could even try running for an eagle here, but that's probably pressing your luck, especially in this wind and with that big boulder in front of us. So we'll just get over this boulder and be happy with our birdie. All right, one other thing I'd like to show you, let's see if I can pull it off here. Again, let's use our Zeus here and see if we can't end up in the river on purpose. No, it's not going to happen, I don't think. Well, maybe. Now, I'm not sure if this is far enough down the river to... Yeah, it wasn't far enough. If you get far enough down the river, the drop zone is going to be on the other side of the basket. Let me just see if I can't do that for you. Yeah, here we go. So being this far down, when you hit move to lie, you're going to be taken around to a drop zone that's on the other side of the basket like this. If you can get it in the basket, you've still got a birdie because you're here with only 2 strokes. And so if you can basket this, you've still got your birdie. And there you go. All right, hole number 4. And the next few holes are a little easier to get your birdie. On this one, my disc of choice is the Ballista Pro, no attribute, basically because that's what I have in my bag. But if you have like any roll disc that is, say, 12 speed or above, will work here. You're just basically wanting to stay on this little pathway here. And depending on your wind condition, you probably could go pull straight back or just a little bit over, depending on your disc, how much turn it might have. But you just want to get up to this knoll here so that you have a nice straight shot at the basket. And it is actually possible, it doesn't happen very often, but to get this in the basket from here, and then you've got another eagle, another point to help you along your way. And probably don't need to go pull back all the way. Let's just see. Yeah, no. But it's always a nice delight when you do get it. So we could probably play that one more time for you. Ballista. And try this again. But it's something that you can keep in mind and give it a try when you... But you can still get your birdie. All right, this particular hole, this is kind of what I was talking about at the beginning, is that 121 meters, you would think that you need to at least get out your 7 disc, but actually the disc of choice here is the 5-speed fuse. And I don't know if I'd even try the Warship here. We could maybe try it just for fun, but you want the regular fuse that you've been using as a putter, and just pull it straight back, and it comes safely into play here. Anything stronger is probably going to put you in the little frozen lake there, and it's not frozen all the way. There's lots of spots where you go in. Just for fun, let's try the Warship that we picked up on our last course. See what happens. It kind of goes off a little bit. But yeah, see, even the Warship goes into the lake. So trust me on this one, you really want to stick with the... What is it? It's a windbreak accurate fuse that seems to be the disc of choice on this hole. For your drive. All right, hole number 6, and take note of the map up in the corner. You do have to get inside that little boundary area or you are out of bounds, and it's going to cost you. So what I usually use here is a musket disc where this PD also works, and have it come down and around and land inside the arena here for an easy toss in for our birdie. I'm going to play it one more time here, but that is the play. A musket or the PD that we have here. And up and over that branch and down into the arena there. Now, sometimes you can get into trouble here if you get yourself behind a branch. Just be careful. Slide around till you get a good shot at that. And in for the birdie. All right, hole number 7, and here you want to get out the Zeus again and put your pointer up above the knoll here. And since this Zeus has a tendency to go off to the left when you're shooting forehand, I'll put quite a little bit of an anhyzer on that, maybe half a disc or so, and have that come around and skip into play. Now when you're back this far, the Zeus usually goes further. I would have put a little bit more on that. You're back this far, then I would pull out the ballista. What you want to do is get over to this next crest here without going off into the river. Something like that. And then from here, here's another example of where you need to adjust your thinking about what disc you should use. Conventional thinking would say that it's only 103 meters and it's downhill, so the PD should be plenty of disc, right? But it's not, and you really could even get away with pulling out the Zeus again. And it will go, it's a little bit more than what you need, but it's not too much. Of course, we land right behind a bush here. Let's see if we can manage this. Oh. Hit a twig. Let's play it again and see if we can't get a little better results. So, Zeus, bring it up, and this time let's put a little bit more hyzer on it. And then it's going to skip a little bit further along. And when you get this far down, you can get away with even the PD. Works here, and maybe don't even pull it all the way back just to be safe, because you don't want it going off into the river like that. We're very fortunate on that. So yeah, the Zeus, or you could probably get away with the Ballista Pro, maybe come in backhand, and 87 should be enough, huh? Yeah, that gets us right up there. I said backhand. That's a forehand. Go forehand. I don't know if we need to do it one more time. It's basically the same play over and over again. And watching your wind, you might make an adjustment as to how much hyzer you put on it. Basically, we want to get past that stone so that we get a nice skip and closer to the ridge. And here we should be fine with the PD. And I think I'm going to use the Zeus again and just maybe bring it over here. Make sure that you're not going to hit the branch of that tree, because that can really mess you up. And we are good to go for another birdie. All right, hole number 8. What will it bring us? Oh, here we are in the village. And here's one that you're probably going to have to spend some time practicing on in order to get a birdie on this one. This is the hole where you're really happy that you've taken the extra time to get your eagle on hole number 1, because there's a good chance that you're going to need it on this hole. But let's see if we can't get the birdie. There's a couple of different approaches, so I'll maybe show you both. We can use the forehand and point it right about there, and in this wind we can just pull straight back, and that disc is going to come around nicely and get a little bounce. And from here, my second disc, based on what I have in my bag, this Destiny works pretty good. And I'll point it right about here. You're probably wondering, where's the basket? You can kind of see it off in the corner here. I'm using an iPad to record these videos, and that's why it kind of clips off some of the shot that you would see if you're playing on a phone that has more of a 16:9 aspect ratio. But it is way off down in the corner there, the left-hand side. That's where the basket is. You can kind of see it there. But this disc is going to swing around. We put about a half hyzer on it, and with any luck, it'll come into play. If we don't hit a park bench. Whoo! But yeah, that's what we want. Now we're in play for a possible birdie. Oh. See, you hate it when that happens on hole number 8. If you don't have that eagle in your back pocket, you have to start over again, right here in hole number 8, when things like that happen. But let's see if we can't get the birdie. Let's maybe come around with a backhand this time and show you that approach. Basically what you want to do is put your pointer about along this tree here, and then put some anhyzer on this, and have this bounce down the hill this time. I think this puts you a little closer to the basket, but you're still going to have to do some flight over the houses here to get down there. Since we're a little closer, we'll use the Ballista Pro this time, and hopefully it goes the distance. Yeah, we're going to be fine. And this time, let's not hit the rim. Okay, so there's a birdie. You can see it is possible. Keep trying until you learn how to get the birdie most of the time. But like I say, it's nice to have that extra point in your back pocket on hole number 8 in case you mess up. Let's go on to our last hole. And this one, I find the best approach is to take your distance driver with the big skip and point it about there. You could probably get away with this one pulling straight back, but this Zeus, I like to put a little bit on it. Just have that disc swing around and bounce towards the basket, something like that. And then you're set up pretty nicely for your birdie. But you'll still want to try that in different wind conditions. It can really make a difference what you're up against. It can be a little bit difficult when you're behind this snowbank. I think we'll be okay here, but if you're back much further, it's a little challenging to get up over the bank and into the basket. We can probably get away with it here. Yeah. All right, well, there you go. Tips and tricks on how to get your birdies and that one eagle at the beginning there, so that you can be well on your way to get your 3 stars on Northern Lights. And speaking of a 3-star run, that'll be our next video, so be sure to pop back to catch that. But for now, we'll say farewell, and we'll see you next time here at Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks. So long for today.